At the party, everyone was laughing, drinking, and enjoying themselves. The music played softly in the background while groups of friends chatted about work, family, and plans for the weekend. Among them stood Ryan and his wife, Emily, a couple everyone admired for their long marriage. To outsiders, they seemed perfect. But beneath the smiles, Ryan carried the weight of quiet humiliation that no one could see. As the evening went on, the conversation at their table turned toward relationships and fidelity. Someone joked about how men couldn't be trusted once they had money or success. Laughter followed, but then Emily, half drunk and emboldened by the attention, leaned forward and said with a smirk, "Well, even if my husband ever tried to cheat, no woman would want him anyway." The words hung in the air, sharp and cutting. The table erupted with awkward chuckles, unsure how to react. Ryan froze. His chest tightened, and for a moment, he couldn't breathe. Emily laughed loudly, pretending it was harmless fun. "Oh, come on," she added. "I'm just joking." But it wasn't a joke to him. It was a wound disguised as humor, and it stung more than he could show. Ryan forced a smile, trying to play along, but inside, something in him cracked. He had always been the quiet, supportive husband, the one who stood by Emily's side through everything. He had helped her through college, stayed up late during her exams, and even worked 2 jobs to support her dream of starting a business. Yet here she was, mocking him in front of their friends for amusement. After the party, they drove home in silence. Emily hummed to herself, scrolling through her phone as if nothing had happened. Ryan stared at the road ahead, his mind replaying her words over and over. When they reached home, she went straight to bed without a word. He sat alone in the living room for hours, staring at the dim light of the lamp, wondering when respect had vanished from their marriage. Over the next few weeks, Ryan changed. He stopped trying to make Emily laugh, stopped asking how her day was, and stopped planning their weekend outings. He poured himself into his work, arriving early and leaving late. His colleagues noticed his determination, and soon, he was promoted to project manager, a position he had dreamed of for years. Yet, when he came home to share the news, Emily barely looked up from her phone. "That's nice," she said flatly. Something inside him hardened that night. He realized he had been giving everything to someone who no longer cared. So, he decided to take control of his own life again. He started going to the gym, meeting new people, and finding joy in things outside his marriage. Slowly, he began rebuilding his confidence, the same confidence that Emily's words had crushed. Months passed, and people began noticing the change in him. He looked happier, stronger, more alive. Emily, however, grew distant. Her business had started struggling, and the once proud, confident woman now seemed bitter. One evening, while scrolling through social media, she noticed several comments under Ryan's recent photo. Women were complimenting him, some even openly flirting. Jealousy burned inside her. That night, she asked casually, "So, who's been keeping you so busy these days?" Ryan looked at her calmly and replied, "Myself." She laughed awkwardly, trying to regain control. "You've changed," she said. "You used to care more about us." He nodded. "I used to care about a lot of things that didn't matter. Now I care about respect." Emily felt her throat tighten. "You know I didn't mean what I said that night," she whispered. "It was just a joke." Ryan looked at her and said softly, "Maybe it was a joke to you. But it showed me what you really think of me." His words hit her harder than she expected. She realized she had mocked the one person who had always stood by her. A few weeks later, they attended another gathering, this time at Ryan's colleague's house. Ryan looked sharp, confident, and composed. People gravitated toward him, admiring his calm presence. Emily watched from the corner, feeling small and out of place. When someone asked if Ryan was married, she quickly stepped forward and said, "Yes, I'm his wife." But he only offered a polite smile in return. The ride home that night was silent again, but this time, it wasn't awkward, it was final. Emily tried to speak, but Ryan said quietly, "I think we both know this isn't working anymore." Tears filled her eyes, but he didn't look at her. "You once said no woman would want me," he continued. "But the truth is, no one wants to be with someone who disrespects them." A month later, they separated. Emily moved out of their house, realizing too late that her pride had cost her everything. Ryan, meanwhile, continued to grow, personally and professionally. People who once overlooked him now admired him. And though he carried scars from that night, he also carried strength. At another gathering months later, one of Emily's old friends asked Ryan if he ever thought about her. He smiled faintly and said, "Sometimes. But mostly, I think about how far I've come since the night she made me feel small." And in that quiet, dignified way, Ryan closed a painful chapter of his life, not with anger or revenge, but with self-respect and peace.